Well, maybe to start, let's go to the archive. Originally, we ran a piece, so it's called Game Type Capture the School from Brendan Keogh, who's a fellow academic game studies professor. Also runs a website called Critical Distance, and originally ran in Killscreen issue number 2, which was the back to school issue. This was Brendan's first piece for the magazine as an outside contributor. Just to give a little like context for the, a little bit of context for the for the piece itself. The construction was like a little was interesting because it's sort of designed as a set of rules. The conceit is basically Brendan and his friends were playing they're playing to play Halo. The power goes out and they decide to kind of like step into a real world play space and kind of design into a real world play space and role play space. These are some of the photos from the issue, and actually try to design like some of the rules. They called it set player rules. So it's a bit of like Halo capture the flag, and they move on. It's kind of like there's a ceramic Jesus statue as it's one of the map's landmarks. And one of the interesting details was that they as kids designed this, or adolescents I guess. There's these tennis courts that carry three sports worth of overlapping painted lines. So the group kind of improvises like a fourth game, Pac-Man tag, like over top of it. Brendan started the whole piece, as a actual rules screen. Like the school needed its own setting menu before the game could start. So Dan, I was going to ask you, do you feel like putting the rules in writing, if you're like doing something like this, trying to turn a physical space into more of a play space, do you feel like putting the rules in writing first makes the space more like a game? Or do you think it just proves that like the space had rules the whole time and nobody had really said them out loud?
Yeah, I like that last twist on it, right? Like, of course, like all of our social spaces have rules and mores. It's just that we're so habituated to them that they become invisible. I think that's what's great about, setting new rules for these spaces or recoding them is that, one, it like highlights the fact that all these spaces already have rules. So there's this great moment in the piece, for example, where they realized they could run along some kind of like, I don't know. I couldn't quite understand exactly what it was, but it seemed like some kind of ditch that's used for service that they were not allowed to use during the day. But the game rules kind of like opened up like new ways to explore the space. I loved this piece. I thought it was just,
Yeah. Have you
really.
ever done something like that? Like kind of taken an existing space and kind of like turned it into like some other kind of like play space?
I love making games, and I think that's why I teach is that I just have like a captive audience of 20 students that I can force rules upon and have them play with me.
Yeah,
So
that's a good way to
when I
think
teach
about
my
it.
video game classes, we almost always have at least one IRL session. So whether we're like writing our own LARP, we actually did a great when I was studying Final Fantasy VII. I had them do a Final Fantasy VII LARP where they were some students were NPCs and others were heroes on the quest, and we kind of filmed it as a machinima.
Yeah.
But I think like taking those kinds of spaces, especially so that for me it's the university, but this high school that are so over determined by certain kinds of rules of what's proper in academe, how buildings are supposed to be used, and then like taking those spaces and then making them like playful. I think both like there's a kind of like liberatory, like, oh, we're out of the normal right now, but there's also a way in which I think that recodes the academic space to be something that's more open and stranger and less necessary. That all of the assets of this space could be rendered otherwise.
Yeah.